Morning crafters, welcome back to another segment of KISS Keep It Simple Sylvia. This is the second week in January and we've changed the theme for the month to organization. This is usually the month that I try to spend in my craft room organizing it from all of the hectic schedule of crafting during the holidays. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. But this year I needed to make myself something that could hold my Copic markers and other markers that I have. And I have this unit. I don't know where I got it, but it came with a lid like this. And I've been keeping my Copics in it, but without shelves. And so every time I needed something on the bottom, it was just a mess. I had to pull them out all the time. And I thought, well, maybe I could organize them by the color system that Copic uses so I could have my markers at easy reach. Now I could use it this way or I can use it this way. I prefer to keep it this way because it doesn't take up as much real estate on my desk by having it stacked like this. So what I thought I would do is just get some particle core board. You know, these big sheets of core board that you can buy. They're super cheap, like at Walmart and stuff like that, and it's just got that foam board in it. And so what I did was I measured the depth of my little box here, which came to be like 5.5 inches. And then I measured the inside here, which came to about 1 7/8. Now, by the nature of the way this box was constructed, it's not all the same. It goes anywhere from 1 3/4 to 1 7/8. And I was trying to come up with some different glues to use to put this together with because I wanted to avoid hot glue because I knew hot glue would actually expand it because of the thickness of the hot glue. So I thought, okay, I would use glossy accents because that's a real nice strong glue, but it takes forever for the shelving to dry. And it was just driving me nuts. I couldn't stand it. I mean, I had to wait like a half a day for each shelf to dry. So then I said, okay, I'll use my E6000. No, not a good glue to use because what eventually happens is this foam core that's inside here, this stuff melts it. And so when you think you're laying something down, a bead of it down, it actually melts into it. And I mean, like one of my boards was almost 1/4 of an inch melted in where it makes it disappear. So this is a no-no. This didn't work. So I said, okay, I have to use my hot glue. I've got to. So that's what I did. So what I did is I measured everything out on my core board and then I cut my first piece and then I used that as a measurement rather than having to measure and on the board, like I said, keep it simple Sylvia. And then I just drew lines down it, moved it, lined it up, drew a line, and now I've got all my pieces. And then I'm just using a craft knife to cut it out. When you're cutting core board, I mean, if you're good just cutting with a ruler, then you could just lay your ruler down and cut, but I'm not. I need to have a line and I need to go slow. So that's what I did. I just drew myself a line and I push into the core board. And you don't have to go all the way through. In fact, it's much easier if you don't because you have to put a lot of pressure on it to do that. But once you get it scored like that and you've got a somewhat of a cut into it, all you got to do is just snap it. And it just snaps right back. Now, you do have to cut the paper in the back. And that's easy enough to do because now you've got it creased from where you snapped it. You just take your cutter. And you don't even have to do that deep either. Just so you've got some kind of break in the paper fiber that's on the backing here. And you can actually snap this apart then when you get that done. See how easy that was? I just kind of scored it a little bit. I didn't even break it all the way through. And then I just popped it. And it's just so much easier than trying to continually cut on the same line. And then what I do, I look for the edge that is the edge from the actual manufacturer, because that's a much smoother edge than what I'm cutting. So I make sure that that's the edge that I'm going to put on the inside, so I have a nice flat edge. And then on the edge that I use to cut from the big board, I'm actually putting a little scallop in, so it's not completely straight across, that there's a little scallop. So I find that that makes it a little bit easier for me to reach in and grab my pen or pencils, whatever I'm going to put in here. And so I just cut just a little scallop in it right here. And then I'm going to glue these in. Now I have to have something that's going to be a spacer for me. So I tried all sorts of things. I actually ended up using this as my spacer in between, because I need to make sure that my shelves are level when I put this in. I don't want them tilted in any way. I don't want them tilted front or back. They have to be level, otherwise my pens will, they'll fall forward, or they'll go on their, go sideways or whatever. So I had to come up with something that would work. I like the spacing because this allowed me to put probably 2 layers, maybe even 3 layers of my Copics in here if I want. Otherwise, I don't have to. I can layer them down the way I want them. And so I thought, okay, that one worked. I like that spacing. But if that's not the kind of spacing that you want, just grab something else. Here's an Elmer's glue that I could have used for spacing, and that gives me a much deeper shelf. I could even use toilet tissue, scrunch it down, and then I've got another little spacing. So whatever you can find, but you want to make sure that it goes front to back, because you don't want it to tilt in the back, down or up. So this thing fits in there nicely, goes all the way in, and I have a nice spacer. So then I just move it up, got my next shelf ready. And then I'm actually using my hot glue for this. And I try to work as quickly as I can, because you know how quickly hot glue can set up at times. And I'm not being careful with this hot glue. I want to be as goopy as possible, because the inside spacing on this is not even at all. And so the more globby glue I can get down on it, the better. And then what I found is it's better to turn it in sideways, get it close to where I want it, and then push it down. Otherwise, if I don't do it that way, and if I try to slide it in as a straight shelf, all the glue starts coming off the edges as I'm pushing down. Okay, make sure that it's level, that this little thing is level. And then I just kind of hold the edges until it sets up. And so this is going to be a handy little accessory on my desk here. It's best if you can keep your Copic markers or any of your markers flat rather than standing them up, because gravity tends to pull everything down. And so your Copic markers and your distress markers, they have 2 points on them. If you have markers that don't, then yeah, you could probably stand them up, and then they'll always have ink down at the point. But because Copics and distress markers have dual tips on them, it's best if you have your markers lay flat. And then that way the ink can be dispersed to either point. So that's why I needed to make myself something like this, rather than just, because without these little shelves, they were just stacked in here. And then, I'm pulling one out, and I'm pulling tons of them out at the same time. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut another shelf. And just do the same thing, just follow my line down on my board here. Snap it. You heard that snap. Turn it over. Just score where I'm just breaking some of the backing here. All the way down, and then snap it. And it comes right apart. And then the edge that I've been cutting from I'll just, and you don't have to do this, you don't have to put a little scallop in it, but I've found that that's just a little easier for me to get my fingers in there and get my pens out. Got my hot glue gun ready again, just laying it just as sloppily as I can. I need to make sure that I fill in any of the gaps. And you can see I'm just doing this extremely sloppy. I've even got some on my clothes, but the nice thing about the hot glue is it'll peel off. And just laying it down here real thick. Put my spacer in, put it in, slip it, and pull it down. And then hold the edges together. And then I'll just continue to do that, and when it's all done, I'll be right back. Okay, crafters, I've got my unit all done, and now I'm able to arrange it by the color groups and the coloring system that Copic uses. And I can go quite deep. I can put 6 into each area. And I've got, you know, all my warm and cool grays down here. I got my colorless here. I've got my B group, my E, my Y's, and my R's. And I'm missing quite a few Copics, but for the ones that I've got, this works real well. And now I've got my color groups organized. And then on this top one here, I've got some of my white markers. And then I have this Faber-Castell Pitt pen. Another white Pentel marker. I think I have a Sharpie in here too. I have a couple Sharpies. So I have all of those pens at my fingertips on my desk when I need to do some coloring. And it makes a real nice handy little container, and it's just going to sit upright like this on my desk off in a corner. And I've got them within my arm's reach. Isn't that cool? And then the top part that I cut off, I think I'm going to use it as a shelf. I'm going to put some braces underneath it and put it as a shelf on the wall and put some stuff up so it'll be easily reachable too. Probably some glues or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'll use it for, but there you go. I just used an everyday object that I had and turned it into a really cool, I like, storage unit for my Copic markers, so I can arrange things the way I want them arranged, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of real estate. It only takes up this little edge right here, and it stands up on my desk. And core board, you know, the foam core board, it's wonderful to work with. There's so many different projects that you can make out of this foam core board, and you get big, huge, long sheets and stuff. And you can make things that hold your ink pads. You can make little boxes, all sorts of neat things that you can make out of core board. And we'll probably be visiting it again throughout the month. So I hope you enjoyed this simple, quick, little, easy KISS segment on making something to use to store your markers. It could have just been a regular box, or it could have been, you know, one of those boxes that you get flat rate shipping box from the post office, like a $5 box. That's a really good size also. And then you just cut your little core board into shelves and glue them in place, and you got a cute little storage area. Well, thank you, crafters, for joining me on this segment of KISS. Keep it simple, Sylvia, and I look forward to seeing you again here next week when we come up with another storage idea. Bye for now, everyone.